Okay, we are now going to get into the official story of Bridge to Neverland, and so far the prologue kind of made it feel like similar to prologues in some of the other books that Peter feel. But in chapter 1, the authors are going to make sure that they let you know that they are shifting gears from a historical fantasy type story into a more realistic fiction with the way that the characters are talking, acting. It's going to feel a lot more like something that could happen today. Of course, it will take a twist to the more fantasy side of things a little bit later. So chapter 1 is called The Secret Compartment. Aiden Cooper sprinted up the stairs. From behind, he heard a voice choking with fury, shouting, "I'm gonna kill you." Aiden reached the second floor hallway, crowded with antique end tables and chairs, its walls covered in dark oil paintings. He heard footsteps creaking up the stairs. He hurried down the hall and ducked into his father's study, closing the door as quietly as he could. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. "You're dead. You hear me? Dead." The voice belonged to Aiden's sister, Sarah. She was very unhappy because Aiden had just swiped her iPhone, which he now was clutching in his hand. He heard a door open and shut, then another. Sarah was checking the upstairs rooms one at a time. She was methodical. Her room was always neat, her weekend homework done before Friday dinner. What worried Aiden more was the fact that she was also quite a good puncher, having taken 6 years of karate. "I'm gonna find you, you little brat," she said. Aiden looked around frantically for a place to hide. His eyes saw a massive oak desk. It was a new addition to the household. Aiden and Sarah's dad, a serious collector of Victorian furniture, had bought it recently at an auction. Aiden dropped to his hands and knees and crawled into the space where the chair was supposed to fit, between two walls and drawers. Sitting cross-legged under the desk, he activated the iPhone screen and opened the text messages. He scrolled quickly through them, looking for the name of the girl he was deeply in love with that week. Aiden fell deeply in love a lot. She was a friend of Sarah's, Amanda Flores, and like Sarah, she was 17 and in 11th grade. Aiden was only 15, a lowly 9th grader. He wasn't dating Amanda. The truth was he had never actually spoken to her, but he had hopes. These hopes had soared a few months earlier when, reading over his sister's shoulder, Aiden had spotted a text from Amanda saying, at least what Aiden thought it had said, was that Amanda thought he was cute. He had tried to see more, but Sarah, annoyed at him spying, made the phone screen go dark and told him to mind his own business. So Aiden snatched the phone and ran upstairs. At this time, it seemed like a good idea, but now Aiden sensed it might have been a mistake. First, his sister was really mad. Second, as he scanned the iPhone text, he realized that Amanda had not been texting about him at all, but about another boy named Aaron. Aiden didn't know Aaron, but he was pretty sure he hated him. The study door burst open, and 3 seconds later, Sarah was crouched in front of the desk, red-faced with anger. "Give me my phone back right now," she said, the palm of her hand extended. "Okay, don't get—" "I said give it to me," yelled Sarah, lunging toward him. Startled by his sister's lunge, Aiden jerked back and banged his shoulder and his head hard. 3 things happened. 1, Aiden said ow. 2, Sarah grabbed her phone back. And 3, a secret door appeared in the desk. It was a wooden trap door about the size of a DVD case. It hung down between Aiden and Sarah from the underside of the desk, revealing a dark opening. Said Sarah, suddenly more interested in the door than killing her brother. "That's weird," said Aiden. He was relieved that his sister was at least temporarily distracted. Trying to prolong her interest, he said, "What is that anyway?" "It's a secret compartment," said Sarah. "Cool," said Aiden. He reached up and pushed the door shut. There was a soft click, and it locked. The grain on the door matched the surrounding wood exactly. The fit was so tight, you couldn't even see the seams. "Wow, when it's closed, you can't even see it." "Right, Nimrod. But you also can't see inside. Open it back up." Aiden tried to pry it open, but his fingernails couldn't fit in the seam. He banged on it. Nothing happened. He ran his hands over the surrounding wood, but he couldn't do anything. "I don't know how," he said. "You are such an idiot," said Sarah. "Let me see." "You must have to do something to open it," she said. "Well, I hit my head." Sarah pushed the panels above them. Nothing happened. "I also hit my shoulder." "Where?" He pointed at the sore spot, and she punched it hard. "Ow! Not your shoulder. Where did you hit the desk?" "Oh, this side, I think." Sarah made a fist and pounded it. Nothing. "I hit it really hard," said Aiden. Sarah frowned and gave the panel a karate chop. The trap door popped open. Excellent, said Aiden, reaching his hand into the hole. If there's money in there, we split it, said Sarah. Aiden felt inside. I don't feel that. Wait, there's something in here. He withdrew his hand, which now held an envelope. It was letter size and yellow with age. Aiden turned it over. It had no writing on either side. Open it, said Sarah. Aiden frowned. Maybe we should tell Dad first, he said. Nah, absolutely, said Sarah, after we open it. But before Aiden could protest, she slid her fingers under the flap and opened the envelope. She pulled out a piece of flimsy paper and folded it and had it folded into thirds. She unfolded it carefully, and Aiden leaned in to look. The paper was so thin, it was almost transparent. On it, drawn in black ink, were random-looking lines, some straight, some curved, not forming any obvious pattern. Below the lines, handwritten in the same ink, were the words, "In the place, in the landing, beneath the eagle, beneath your feet, McGill." And I'm going to show you this, but I will also post this in Classroom so you have a chance to study the letter a little bit closer and maybe find out some clues. What the heck does that mean? Said Aiden. Sarah was staring at it. McGill, she said. What about it? I feel like I know that name. You know someone named McGill? I don't know. I don't know where I know him, but I heard that name somewhere before. She continued staring at the document. Can I ask you something? Said Aiden. What? This guy Aaron, who Amanda likes. What about him? How old is he? He's a senior. Aiden's shoulders slumped. Sarah smirked, enjoying her moment of revenge for the iPhone theft. He's also very cute, she added, and without a word, Aiden slouched out of the room, heartbroken. Sarah turned back to the document. McGill, she whispered softly. And we pause and fast forward a little bit. At 11:40 p.m. that night, she remembered. She had turned off the light and was almost asleep when suddenly it popped into her brain. McGill, she whispered, sitting upright in bed. Fumbling in the dark, she found a switch to her reading light and turned it on. She got out of bed and crossed her bedroom to a shelf jammed with overflowing books. She searched the titles, stopping finally on a fat hardcover book. She pulled it out and began impatiently turning the pages. She flipped most of the way through before she found what she was looking for and read the passage and read it again. I knew it, she said, and she sat on her bed for a few moments thinking. Then she returned to the bookshelf and pulled out another fat book. After flipping through it, she found a particular part that she was looking for. She bookmarked the page and moved ahead to another chapter, reading with growing excitement. She opened the small drawer on her bedside table and withdrew the fragile document they had discovered in the desk. She read it, standing as she did, too excited to now sit down. She paced the room for a minute, the one book in hand and the letter in the other. Then she collected both and quietly crept down the hallway to Aiden's room. She eased the door open without knocking and closed it softly behind her. She switched on the light. Psst, Aiden, wake up. What? Why are you? Shh, not so loud, you'll wake Mom and Dad. What are you doing here? It's midnight. She handed him the book, and he reluctantly accepted it from her, rubbing his eyes open, and read the title. Peter and the Shadow Thieves. I already read this like 5 years ago. I know that, but read this part. She was pointing to a paragraph on the bottom of page 475. Aiden read it quietly. First thing tomorrow, said Astor, I will arrange to send you all back to London, but for tonight, you must remain here. I'm going out for several hours with Mr. McGill, the man who greeted you at the gate. Now, what's cool about this is they changed the way the text looks in the book, so it shows like Sarah is reading. The other cool thing is that if you have a copy of Peter and the Shadow Thieves, which you likely don't right now, but if you ever track down a copy and you turn to page 475, that text is on the actual page 475 in the book, Peter and the Shadow Thieves. If we were in school, I would show you the page, but we're not. Aiden looked up at Sarah. So what? McGill! I knew the name. He helped the Starcatchers. Are you insane? You woke me up for this? McGill, she repeated. So it's the same name, big deal. There's probably a million McGills. I can't believe you woke me up. Do you know any McGills? No, but that doesn't mean I'm not done. She held up the second book. He read the title, Peter and the Sword of Mercy. McGill's mentioned in here, too. A lot. I still don't see why. Just wait, okay? Here, Leonard is telling Peter and Wendy to go to a safe place, and look at where he sends them. She presented the book to Aiden, this time pointing to the middle of the page, 312. When you get out of here, go straight to a hotel in Sloane Square called the Scotland Landing. Aiden looked up. Sarah showed him the document. Again, it says in the landing. In the book, McGill lives there in the Scotland Landing Hotel. That's just a coincidence. But he sounded less confident than before. Wait, said Sarah, now leafing furiously through the book. Here, she pointed to the bottom of page 325. Aiden read. The taxicab rumbled through the dark streets for 15 minutes, then stopped in front of a narrow, 3-story building on a quiet street near Sloane Square called Draycott Place. Draycott Place! In the book, McGill was in Scotland Landing in Draycott Place. She waved the letter. McGill, in the landing, in the place. Aiden looked at the book, then the paper, then back at the book. So are you, like, saying you think this Starcatcher stuff is for real? Because that's crazy. Then who wrote this, she said, holding up the document. Aiden thought about it. Could be a practical joke. Somebody read the books and they thought that would be funny to write it down on a paper and hid it in a desk so someone like you would fall for it. Really? You're saying somebody read the books, then found this ridiculously old-looking piece of paper, wrote this stuff on it, hidden in a secret compartment of a really old desk, and it was all some kind of joke? Well, yeah. How would they expect anyone to ever find it? If you hadn't hit your head under the desk and bumped your shoulder, we never would have found it. No one would have ever found it. Ever. As in, ever? Aiden thought about it. Okay, so what do you think it is? What I think is it's a mystery. Wow, a mystery. Nice work, Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I'm not saying I have the answers to the mystery, but I'm going to solve it. You. Yeah. How? I'm going to start at Draycott Place, which is in London. We live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Right, and where are we going in 2 weeks? Oh, yeah, said Aiden, remembering that the Cooper family was taking their summer vacation trip to England this year. So when we're in London, we'll go find this Draycott Place. Meanwhile, we can do some research on the internet, and I'm going to ask Dad what he knows about who used to own that desk. Are we going to tell Dad about this? Not yet. Why not? Well, because we found it, and I think we should have the first chance to figure out what it means. We'll tell him about it later, okay? No, it's Dad's desk, so he owns the documents in it. We have to tell him. No, we most certainly do not. The desk is in our house. That makes it just as much ours. Absolutely not, said Aiden. We have to tell Dad. You are not going to change my mind about this. I'll introduce you to Amanda Flores, said Sarah. Deal, said Aiden. All right, can I go back to sleep? Okay, just don't forget our deal. I won't. Don't forget your part. I won't, said Sarah, turning off the lights and opening the door. For the record, said Aiden, you're completely nuts. Sweet dreams, said Sarah, shutting the door. She held the book and the document and tiptoed back to her bed. It was well past midnight, but she was too excited to sleep. She sat on her bed and looked at the covers of the books, which were illustrated with scenes of a flying boy and a heroic girl menaced by cruel pirates and hideous evil creatures. Sarah knew these stories well. She had read and reread them over the years, but to her they had always been make-believe. There was no flying boy, she knew, and no magical island. She set the books on her bed, then went to her window and looked out. The backyard was bathed in moonlight. It was dominated by a massive oak tree. A gust of wind shifted and twisted in the branches. The shadows were wriggling on the ground, and Sarah looked at them for a moment, then back at the books. A persistent thought kept bubbling up in her mind. She knew it was ridiculous, but somehow she could not completely dismiss it. What if it's not make-believe? And that is the end of the first chapter. So the authors do a good job of introducing us to the new characters, but also kind of getting us interested and making some connections back to the books we've previously read. In Classroom, I will post up the letter so you can expect the letter, and I will also post the pages in this book and the pages in Sword of Mercy so you can see how cleverly the authors chose the exact page numbers to have it match up and give it a realistic feel. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with the next chapter.